with Linda Kusmer. She founded the Total Interior Designs in 1976, specializing in psychology of interior design. A member of the American Society of Interior Design and served on the board. She participated in a national research projects in interior design, and her work has been published locally and nationally. She served as the interior designer for Aberdeen Heights Retirement Community, and that's a gorgeous community. You did a great job. So welcome, Linda, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Judith. It's always a pleasure working with you. So good morning. Even though we have a kind of a dreary day today, we can change that for ourselves by dressing for spring in spring colors, and we can do that with our environment. And that's what we're going to talk about today, how to refresh our surroundings and do it creatively where you can actually, and it's very simple and it can be done without any expense, which I think is always a plus for those who want to do that. I think the best way to start, Judith, would be to go with the photo.
Okay. Can everyone see that?
No, oh, there.
See it? Okay, good.
All right. So the reason I'm using these photos, I wanted to give you an idea that, well, there's a couple of things. First, I'm going to tell you a funny story. This is my condo, by the way, and now, Sue, you have seen it. But you see the white chair and ottoman? Now, do me a favor, Judith, show the other side of the room just so they can get a better perspective so that I can kind of say, okay, so that's the other side of the room. So there's two chairs down there and the sofa and then the white one chair and so on. And then what's our third picture? I'm going to go back to the other pictures, but I want to, is that
there's
one?
That one.
Okay, that one.
There's that one.
Okay.
And then there's that one.
Go to the one back, go back, go to that one. Okay. So basically what we're going to talk about is how we can make changes in the room very simply. And I'm going to start by telling you the story about the white chair. Now, when I moved in, the white chair was not there. I had brought it with me, but I had put it in my bedroom. And because that's where I always had it. So I just thought, all right, I'll just put it where it was all the time, and that's how I'll use it. I have another chair in my bedroom as well. I don't sit in that chair in my bedroom, so I'm walking and going, well, that's okay, but it's right. So then I decide that I need another chair in the living room. And I knock my brains out. I go on and I'm doing all my research, and it had to be a small chair and it had to be neutral enough. And I wanted it to swivel, and I'm going through this whole routine. I'd like a small swivel chair, and I'm looking at a gazillion chairs for all different kinds of costs and what it would cost to ship and this and that. It was hilarious. And I spent quite a bit of time doing that. And then I kept repeating to myself, I need a small scale chair that's comfortable, that will swivel. And all of a sudden it was like, ding, I have it in my bedroom. And I'm like, I have it in my bedroom. All I had to do was move that chair from my bedroom to this spot, and it was exactly what I needed, and it worked perfectly. That's what I'm talking about. We have things that we own that we don't think about moving to some other space, using in a different way, displaying other accessories because we're used to them being how they were, where they were, and that's how they stay. In fact, even to the point, many years ago, I did a house and I went, I would go there and I would do a little more work. When the house was finished, all the accessories were out. And I went to visit the client because we had become friends over the years of working together. I'd done 3 houses for her. And she was so proud. And she says, oh, you'll be so proud of me. And I, well, what is it? She says, I have put a little mark under each accessory so that when the cleaning lady comes, or if I do anything, each item can go back exactly in the same spot that you place them. And I said, well, that's really nice. I mean, I'm glad that you enjoy that setup. But in reality, if she realized it, it's okay to, change things and move things. So that's what I'm talking about today. And if you look at this picture, if we're going to change this setting to a more spring-like, I can change the toss pillows. That's the easiest, least expensive thing to do. And I don't have any others since I got rid of a lot of mine when I moved. But if I did, I probably could just take some from another place and put them on there. And if it's the right colors and a springy look, then great. Same thing if I wanted to add a pillow to that white chair. So that would work. In the meantime, let's go to the number 2. Okay. So what happened was,
I'm sorry, hold on just a second.
it's okay. That's
There
okay.
at that one.
Okay, yeah. So I have a lot of artwork and large piece in the dining, which you can't see right now because the lighting is not good. You see it there, but you don't appreciate. And I have a centerpiece on the dining room table. Now, a centerpiece is the simplest way to change up a look. You can change it with fresh flowers. You can change it with different bowls. You can change it with candlesticks, sculptures, whatever. That's the simplest thing to do. And so many of us have these things in our cabinets that we only take out when maybe we're entertaining. Well, relook at those things, because there's things in your cabinets that you would delight in having out, arranged a slightly different way. Oh no. 1 second, I gotta stop that. Just a minute. There you go. Junk calls. And that will change up the look of the room. And the other thing I want to talk about is the accessories on my table here. Even if I just moved them, even if I use the same ones but rearrange them in a different way, that would give a different feel to the look of the table and the surroundings. Or I can switch them up from things I have over on the shelves. Just lots of little details that you can do so simply with the things you already own and appreciate, but maybe you're not getting the opportunity to really appreciate all of the things because they're either packed away, you've forgotten about them, you've got them in a back bedroom and think that that's where they have to stay, but that's not the case. So be a little more creative when you think about your own things and how to move them around and use them. So I had my neighbor, I met my neighbor from up on the 4th floor, and she came down. She wanted to see the condo. So we were sitting and talking, and she's looking at all the artwork and she's looking at how I've arranged things and so on. And we had a nice visit, and then she went home. The next day I get a phone call from her. She said, I was so inspired by seeing what you did that when I went back upstairs, I realized that I had to move some artwork, that the pictures were out of proportion from where it was hanging over one thing. So I moved it to another thing. She said, I moved certain pieces of art and changed certain things. I didn't even talk to her about this. She just saw what could be done and went upstairs and moved her things around. And she said she was so happy and it made such a difference. That's what I'm talking about. Something as simple as looking at your things and going, wait a minute, that picture is really too big for over that piece of furniture. It should be moved over to here. So there's a lot of things that you can do to change up your look. can we go to the, let's see, which picture? I gotta see which.
This one?
Yes. All right. So for example, if you look at, well, see, I have the, my more, I collect art glass, and there's some on this side, and then you don't see the other side, but there's other shelves. But I want you to see about the curtains. Now, right now, what you're seeing is just some textured shears over the sliding glass door. But if you have curtains, curtain rod, you can so easily change up the look or add to the look with another, you know, like a spring print, flowered, whatever, vines, panels on your curtain rod. And it's so inexpensive. In fact, Macy's is having a sale on them right now. I happen to get an email about that. So there's a very simple but impacting way you can change a window treatment and make a different look in the room. The lamps, you can just, if you have a lamp in another room that would change the feel more to a spring feel in your other room, then switch your lamps. I mean, there's just many different ways you can do it with very little effort. So let's talk. Any questions? What can you think of that? My favorite, what I do with clients is, what do you have in your basement that has been sitting there for years that maybe you inherited or you just put aside, you didn't know what to do with? And we go down there and we explore. You wouldn't believe the kind of fabulous things I have found in people's homes that they totally ignored because they didn't know how to use them. They didn't know where to put them. And so I showed them, and it made a tremendous difference. So you guys think about, what do you have packed away or in a cabinet or somewhere that you could refine, you know, like discover you've got wonderful things.
Ruth
Karen.
has something. Go ahead, Ruth, and then Karen.
Yeah, sure. So Linda, first of all, it's so inspiring even already. I'd say for myself, one of my biggest challenges is too much stuff out. You know, too many things that that for me have sentimental value. So the thought of taking, you know, removing some things and putting them away is always a challenge. So I don't. And then I feel like it looks too cluttered. So I need some psychological, you know.
Well, you rotate. In other words, think in terms of rotation. For example, if there is one particular or two particular things that are just so meaningful, you want them out all the time, fine. But then there are other things that you could say, all right, well, I'm going to rotate this and I'll put this out for a few months and bring in some other things or move them around. If you have too much stuff out, nobody's going to see it. It overwhelms. And you won't even appreciate it because it loses its meaning if it's overcrowded and you can't really appreciate it. So just kind of go through and say, well, this is maybe better for fall. This is maybe better in the winter, and just kind of rotate the things you have and tell yourself you're not putting them away or getting rid of them. You're just giving the others a chance to be seen.
I like that idea because I'm with you, Ruth. I have too many things, too many memories, and it does get overwhelming. It's a good point. Karen, did you have something? And then Marilyn. Karen.
Well, actually, since Ruth spoke, I have several things. But the one thing that I wanted to say was, when I have all of it out and it stays in the same place, I don't see it anymore.
Right.
And if I move it, it takes on more energy, and I begin to see it and appreciate it again. As far as putting things in rotation, I talk to my things, especially those that are really important to me. It's just like, it's kind of like that, what's her name? Marie Kondo. where you honor the piece. So
Mm.
instead of thinking that you're rejecting the piece because you're putting it away, it's just, I'm giving you a rest and I'll see you in a few months. And I swear to God, that's how I was able to pack and move, because I could get rid of things because I honored it and I thanked it. And that made it easier. So, you know, and the other thing I wanted to comment on was that I read it's Eastern philosophy, but it's about what you're talking about, Ruth, of putting so many things out. That he talks about, you have an empty room and you place an art piece, a thing of beauty in the center of the room. Okay, this is a powerful energy. You find another piece and you put it in the same room. You've now split the energy between the two. And the more pieces you put in, the more you take away from. And then after a while, you don't really see any of them.
Right. You don't.
So I just wanted to share that with you.
Great.
Marilyn, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah. First of all, about rotating items and they take on a new look. And I think Linda has seen my place, and I think she'll agree that all of a sudden when I put something in a different space, it has a whole new meaning and I'm seeing it in a whole new light. And so I really don't take away things. Well, I have things that are in my closet that should be in the summer, fall, winter, spring collection, but I never managed to do that. I just love what I have out, but rotating, except for the pictures on the wall, rotating the stuff on the sideboards, etc., on the mantle, they do take on a new look. And I don't think I'm too cluttered, but I'll let Linda answer that honestly. The one thing I did that was just a movement of one chair altered the complete look of my living room.
Mhm.
In my living room, I have a fireplace. You walk into my living room and walking straight ahead is the fireplace. On the opposite wall, the wall where you would walk in, is where I have my TV. So I'm generally facing not the fireplace, but the TV. There are two doors leading to a porch on each side of the fireplace. And I had a big easy chair, sort of not blocking the door, I could use the door, but sort of in front of the door, angling closer to the fireplace. And it looked fine. All of a sudden one day I said, I wonder if I just push this chair further back directly to the left of my fireplace. You can enter my dining room. I said, why don't I, and it's a very big arch going into the dining room, why don't I just move that chair a little bit further back and a little bit into the dining room area. It wasn't squeezing out the dining room, but it opened up this whole thing. And now you saw when you first walked in, not only the fireplace, the pathway to that door on the left of the fireplace. And it just changed the complexion of the room. It made that room so much larger, just shoving that chair a little bit. And then my daughter Amy suggested, she used to work many years ago, I don't know, one of these furniture stores. And she said, if you take a little bit soap and water, not really wet, and sort of rub it into where the chair marks are on the rug, let it dry a little, vacuum it, and the pile will come back up.
Okay, great.
So, which I haven't done yet, so you can still see where it was. But it was just a motion of a chair that altered the whole room.
So I want to ask everyone, can you think of a place or a thing that you haven't seen for a long time? Can you think of somewhere that you thought, oh my gosh, I forgot about that? Or yeah, I have a box somewhere that I have a lot of stuff in. I don't even know what's in there. Can any of you relate to that?
Oh, yeah.
Carla, unmute.
Well, I have a lot of boxes, but several of them belong to my late parents and grandmother. And I did actually find something that had no emotional attachment, but was kind of interesting. It was like a crocheted runner with real open work in like beige and gold. And I think everybody's thinking about gold and blue because of Ukraine and everything. And I had another nice runner on my sideboard with, you know, a number of tchotchkes on top of it. But I took the other one away and put that one down. And uh, I think I left most everything that was there, but it gave it a different look because you could see the wood of the sideboard underneath it, and it looked a little more open, maybe and springy than the one I had on there before, which was dark. So I have many objects in there, some of which, you know, weren't mine to start with, so they don't have a lot of emotional attachment, but they're lovely things in some case. You know, most of them are nice, or somebody wouldn't have saved them. So.
Well, after spending so much time locked in our homes for 2 years and looking at the same things, I would think this would be a really opportune time to refresh by going, okay, I think I'm going to go shop in my own house and see how I can change the look of the surroundings, because why not? I mean, we're changing seasons. We're getting out a little bit more. I'm still not one who says this thing is over. So for me, I'm getting out a little bit more, but I'm still aware. And my home is still super important to me. When I come home from being out, I am so happy to be home, so relieved. So we want to make our spaces, you know, as wonderful for ourselves as we can, and for all the people who share, not my space right now, but no, I shouldn't say that. When Ava comes, she's really picking up on all this stuff. My granddaughter, who's 7, and she'll say, "Oh, Grammy, you moved that." And I said, "Yeah, do you like it there?" "Yeah, I do." She says, "You want to move this over there?" "No, let's leave that for right now." So she's really getting into this. Maybe
that's
she'll
very
be my next interior designer, who knows? But so who else has something? Sue, do you have anything? If you're still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you. Not really. I'm not dressed for the crowd. That's why
That's
I
okay.
have the picture off. But you know, everything that you all have talked about is stuff that I think makes perfect sense. And if we just think about it logically, you know, it's not rocket science. It's just that we forget we can do these things.
Yeah, but you, Sue, you particularly have an advantage because as Mark is Sue's husband, who is he's an artist, and he does great stuff with wood as far as furniture, but also paintings. So you have a great opportunity to have things that are new and change as he does these things, right?
Very true. Actually, it's both a privilege and a curse. Because I never know exactly what he's going to bring up from his studio and decide, you know, that he's going to hang on the wall. So stuff on my walls gets changed around all the time. But you know, it's a really good point, because Linda, you have very large paintings, but a lot of us have some small things too. And the other thing I change around all the time are family photographs. Because we tend to see the same things over and over. Sometimes it's even just taking the ones that are in the back and bringing them to the front if they're sitting on a sideboard or something. And you'd be amazed how something as small as that just makes you feel like the room is different.
Right. Well, you just tell Mark that you get the veto power if it's not something you really want, and that you'll call me and I'll come and police it.
We have to get one hanging in your new condo.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I'll find another wall.
Karen?
Well, one thing that I learned was that you don't have to stick with something that is utilitarian, that serves the purpose for doing a certain task. You could actually, well, okay, to be more specific, I have this large quartz bowl that's a meditation bowl, and so it sits on a shelf, because you know, you use it when you want to meditate. And then one day it was like, I can't even reach that bowl. So I dragged it down off of the shelf and I put it in the middle of my dining room table. And it became my favorite centerpiece. Okay, because I dressed it, you know, I put the bowl on a platter and with candlesticks and, you know, the whole 9 yards. And I like that centerpiece better than any centerpiece I've had on that table. And it's because I overcame that bowl was used for meditation and can't use it any other way. So I think that works. And I also find that if things get cluttered, Linda taught me this years ago, it could possibly be you don't have to take it away. You have to move them so that you put, you know, at least 3 items together that they count as one, and not just have them scattered all over the table, so that you make groupings, and it allows you to keep them there, but it gives you space. So Linda taught me that.
And you learn, yay.
Ruth?
Yeah, so I wanted to raise a related but slightly different issue. So we, right before COVID, my husband and I fortunately had an interior designer who redid our dining room, living room. I say fortunately because, you know, it was right in time for COVID, so it wouldn't have happened after that. But in any event, and
Ruth, tell them why. You live in
Why?
Boston, I live here.
oh yeah. Well, yeah, so I would have, of course, Linda would have helped us, but and the woman did a really good job. She utilized like a lot of, you know, some old stuff, so it looked great, but it looked really natural, like as though it had always been that way, but it was new, but using a lot of our old stuff too. So that was great. We were very happy with it. And one of the other things she did was we have a lot of paintings and wall hangings and everything, and she culled through our collection and made really terrific groupings on the walls in the living room in ways that in a million years, I would never have thought to do it the way she did it. And it looks really, really great. So my question about all this is, and then we did, this year, actually, we brought her daughter back, who's also an interior designer, to help us hang some more pictures in the house. And she did a nice job with that. But it wasn't complete because it just wasn't completely complete. And so my question, but then I got tired of seeing like a lot of other pictures just sitting around, you know, because we hadn't put them back up again or whatever. And so I actually did a room by myself, you know, in one of our children's former bedrooms. And I think it looks good, actually. But my question is, I find that when you hire a professional, then in some ways it makes me feel like a little lacking in confidence to then do things myself. And like I said, I did do that other room myself. I mean, the pictures probably would have been hung slightly better if, you know, she would have measured things and, you know, just probably made it slightly better, or she might have had different opinions about how things go. But so my bigger question is, though, how much, like, you know, like, how do you get confidence to do these things yourself when you may have hired a designer who you know did a great job, and then you're like, but can I do this? So that's my question.
Well, actually, you don't have to do it yourself. If you're comfortable, like I have people that have me come in to refresh. You know, my clients will say, well, okay, let's see what we can do. And I go, and it's a consulting thing and we move things around. So if the people are not comfortable doing it themselves, then they hire me if they're my clients, or if you have, you know, your people that you like and did a good job, You can always have them come in for a consultation and, kind of see where you can change things and still feel that the professional is part of that, and you can still have a great look, because a professional should know how to be able to change things up and still have it work really well.
Well, I guess I want to feel like I don't always need to bring in the professional. That's what I,
Then you do the smaller stuff, do the accessories, don't, do the major art on the wall kind of thing, do toss pillows, do, something that is a smaller scale, simpler thing for you to change up.
Linda, this may sound really silly, but sometimes I have a game like I play with myself. I'll go outside my front door and walk in and pretend I've never been in the house before, that I'm somebody else. It's not my house and it's all new to me, and try to visualize your house or your room or whatever through somebody else's eyes. And for, when you maybe say you aren't sure if you can do it without a professional or whatever, pretend you're the professional walking in the house for the first time, and what do you see and what looks different to you?
That's interesting. That's good.
Erin?
I just wanted to jump in on this. I think that a good interior designer keeps you in the mix. I mean, I've never, including my sister, done anything just because Linda thinks it's the right thing to do. If I don't think it's the right thing to do, then we find another thing to do. But I'm always part of that design. And I think, I've had people come into the house that are telling me what to do, and I usher them to the door very quickly. So I think that you can do both, Ruth. I think that you can have the confidence to know what you want and have the professional, as you say, could have made it a little bit more precise or refined, or, because I know that Linda does that. I tell her what I want to do and I do that. And she goes, well, you can do that, but I would do this. And it's like, like nothing. And it makes a big difference, So, and I'm like, and then I'm so happy with that, because we did it together. So I never do anything in my house that I'm not part of that.
Oh, and I never do anything in clients' houses that they're not part of that, because that's my practice, the psychology of interior design. And I always work with the client to make sure that we are on the same page and that that's what she loves. And I don't do anything that any client just likes. Those of you who have been clients of mine, do you remember how many times I said, what do you mean you like it? If you just like it, don't do it. You gotta love it, right? Remember, you gotta love it. So yeah, we always work together.
So Carla?
Well, I think you have to remember that most people who come to your home as guests and friends are not there to critique the design. They remember the warmth of the welcome they get. And I know we have a lot of original artwork. People appreciate seeing that, especially if you have guests who have not been raised in that kind of an environment. I mean, the major sin that I see when I go to other people's houses in terms of their artwork is people tend to hang their artwork higher than is optimal. It's above somebody's eye level who's standing up. I don't want to crane my neck to look at your art, but I mean, other than that, if it's a little too far apart or not correctly grouped, I mean, if you have, at least people are looking, this is cool. I mean, I may have a different problem than most of you at this point, but I still have toddler grandchildren. So I have to keep the breakables. I have some art glass also, but fortunately my home is an older home and we have some niches, and that's where that kind of stuff lives, because, the 2-year-old knows how to say it's breakable, isn't it? I said, you bet. It's not a toy.
Right. Well, when I was working with a client, always remember this, this client, and she had a little, I guess the child was around 2.5 to 3 years old. And we had put, in particular, it was in the foyer, and it was, like a decorative table with some accessories on it. And the client was very, very worried about having anything on any table. She didn't want to put anything on any surface because of this child. So, I talked to her and all that. And one day when I was there and we were setting this up, I brought this child over to the table. And I think she was around 3.5, I guess, because she was old enough to really understand what I was talking about. And I said, these things are mommy's. Show me your toys. And she brought out some toys, and I said, and those are yours. So you get to touch and play with your toys, but not mommy's. So you have to help mommy by making sure her things are exactly where they are and that you don't touch them at all. Now the client looks at me like I've completely lost my mind because I'm talking to this little child, and she's like, yeah, right. 3 days later, she calls me and she says, my daughter deliberately walks further around away from the table. She won't go near it. She doesn't touch a thing on that table. She says, I don't know, you want to come over and do that with some other things with her? I said, no, that's fine. You take care of it. But yes, if you teach a child to respect your things, my children, I did not put my stuff away. I always watched things that were dangerous. Ruth, I'd love to tell this story. I don't know if I should. Will you be offended if I tell one of my favorite stories about?
I don't know what the story is, but I probably.
I'm doing it in my head right now.
Okay, so Ruth and Toby have their first child, Sarah Rose, and they come to visit, and Sarah Rose is, she's a baby. She's crawling around, she's toddling around, she's touching things. And if I saw that I felt she was going to get hurt with any of my accessories or near my table, I'd say, no, Sarah Rose. And I would go over and say, no, we don't touch that. Or we don't. So this went on for a little while. And Ruth comes in and she says to me, we don't say no. And I said, oh, okay. This went on again. She comes back in and goes, Linda, I said, we don't say no. Okay. Third time, she was getting a little annoyed. Linda, we don't say no. And I said, well, I know that, Ruth, but I do. Fast forward, she has her second child. They come to visit. Anna was everywhere. Ruth is, no, Anna, no, Anna, no, Anna, no, Anna, no, Anna. Finally, I turned to Ruth and I said, oh, I see you're saying no. So
I have no memory of that story. And
it's one of my favorite stories.
okay, you can keep telling.
But what I'm trying to say is if you teach children to respect items, to keep them safe, then you don't have to take away everything in your house because there is a child or a grandchild. That's really what I'm saying, but I love that story.
Well,
Carla?
I have to amend it to say that I have collectibles and things that are okay for children to touch and play with, and we do, so it's, I have a little woolly sheep that has a bell and he loves to listen to that, so we draw a line at things that could be,
Right.
he could hurt himself or someone else with. But, and my daughter-in-law had a good technique. I don't know if she applied it to, breakables so much, but her comment to the children was, no, thank you. Like when she didn't want them to do something, no, thank you. That she didn't want them.
Good.
I'll have to add a couple of things. I recently bought a beautiful coffee table at a reseller shop, and I put it in my living room for my orchids and put it by the window. My sister-in-law came in and said, oh, you have new curtains. No, I don't have new curtains. Oh, you have a new rug. No, I don't have a new rug. And it was funny, she named everything in the room except
That's
for the table. But she noticed, she definitely noticed something was different, and it was kind of fun. Kind of fun that she, it just that one little thing that I changed up. And so anyway, it was a fun moment. Just
Yeah. And it does make a difference. It just really does. So have fun with it, guys. I mean, think about it. Even if it's have fun with reducing it, or have fun with saying, all right, I'm going to take this group and rotate it, or have fun looking in some boxes and go, oh my gosh, I had no idea this was here. Our tastes change over the years. As you see all the time, styles rotate, and we're back to things that retro again and so on. So stuff that you may have put away, you could look at again and go, wow, this is really in style right now, or oh, I like this now, or I didn't like it that much before. So revisit things that you may have in cabinets and boxes and refresh your space that way.
Linda, it would never have occurred to me till you mentioned it to be in any way aware of to in any way reflect the seasons inside my house. That never would have occurred to me.
Oh, good.
I mean, the only thing I can think of that way is things that have to do with holidays. I mean, like if it's Hanukkah, that you're going to see a few menorahs around my tables. But
Right.
other than that, I've never thought about, oh, gee, it's spring and therefore something should reflect that in the house.
Yeah, lighten things up. First of all, one of the things for me, I have too much stuff. It's too much stuff to have to clean and dust. So that's another reason why it's good to lighten up. Anybody else want to comment?
When are you going to do a session on decluttering?
Yeah, I'll tell you, the thing I had to laugh about was, I think I did one program about staying in your own home right before I moved. So I got a kick out of that. But I'll tell you, do yourselves all a favor. After just going through that, and I mean, I could have used a bulldozer, it would have been good. It's amazing how much stuff that we accumulate, not even realizing it, but when you have to move or you're downsizing, oh my gosh, better to do it a little at a time than to wait till it's that moment when you have to do it all. And it costs way more money waiting till that moment. So to start digging through and stuff. Oh, I'll tell you, my daughter Stephanie, she's got the best theory. She says, if you haven't seen it, touched it, used it for 2 years, get rid of it. It means nothing. Just if you don't even know it's there, get rid of it. So
I have to say goodbye.
Just talk to your brother-in-law.
yeah, right.
Bye,
Bye,
Karen.
Karen.
I'm going for a
Oh,
booster shot.
is Toby he has trouble getting rid of things?
Yes. Well, so do I, but the combination is just deadly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do yourself a favor. Do your kids a favor. That's what Meredith told me. She says, Mom, this move was so good. She said, the thought of having to deal with your house and all your stuff at a terrible time would have been just like, I couldn't handle it. She said, so this is wonderful. We got to go through pictures together and have fun doing that. We got to go through stuff together, and it was an enjoyable thing instead of a horror that somebody was saddled with after you die. So do yourself and your family a favor. Start doing it now.
I bet it's also probably easier too if you do it in small increments. If you're trying to tackle it all at one time, like if you have to move, it could be very overwhelming very fast, because I accumulate stuff and, just like most people, and I have started to like just tackle one room at a time. So like this
Mhm.
closet till it's done. So,
Right.
it sometimes it just feels like if I'm looking at the whole, I feel
Right.
overwhelmed and I'm like,
And,
okay, I don't know where to start.
and remember, there's a lot of people that desperately need these things that we have sitting in basements and in boxes that we never see or use. I mean, we have refugees, we have people, American people who have nothing. When I was doing a project for Salvation Army many years ago through ASID, American Society of Interior Designers, they had a building that they acquired, and they were trying, how was it? All right, they were apartments that needed to be furnished. They were for transitional people who were coming off the streets into these places because they were finding them jobs. In other words, they were changing their life from homeless to moving forward. And these were interim places. And so the ASID volunteered to go in and furnish them through the donations that Salvation Army gets and some other things that we had. And I'll tell you something, that was the most impacting thing for me, because it was amazing that we were able to create these wonderful places for people who had absolutely nothing, with things that people didn't need anymore. And we're those people that don't need those things anymore. And it was near Christmas time, and we had this big Christmas party, Salvation Army did. And one little boy ran up and threw his arms around the designer who was standing next to me that we had worked with, and hugged her and said, "Thank you, I've never had a bed before."
Oh,
And it was just, wow. So we don't need that stuff in the basement. There are people who really do. That should be a motivation right there to just clear out and give it to those who really need it.
yeah.
So that's all I got to say.
Well, thank you so much, Linda. It was a wonderful program. Thank you, everybody, for
you.
joining us today. And it certainly gave many ideas on how to change our decor.
And
Bring up
Judith,
spring. Yes.
Judith, you have just, I don't know, ladies, you have to understand, Judith has done such an amazing job
Yes.
through COVID and
Thank you.
keeping us all connected. And I love working with you, Judith. So thank you so much.
I
And
appreciate
gonna miss it.
For those of
Yeah.
us who
Yeah.
don't know, what is the Marowitz Center? Could you tell us what it is?
Sure. It's the first floor of Covenant Place. Are you from St. Louis or?
No,
No,
I'm
No.
from
Okay,
Boston.
so the Covenant Place is a independent living community on the JCCA, well, on the Jewish campus. It's JCCA's here and the Holocaust Museum's here. We're all on the same
Federation.
campus. Yeah. But we have housing, and I think we're presently at 400 housing units. But when we built the new building, and if you see the picture behind me, that's the lobby of our new building, and that's the lobby for the Marowitz Center, and it's just the first floor of the building. And we provide well, this is what we did before COVID. We had a cafe. It's an L shape.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we had it was an L shape. So at one end of the L had a cafe for the public. Anybody who wanted to come in for, lunch, breakfast, we had that. It wasn't dinner, but and then we had educational programs. We had the art COCA, which is an art program, come in and teach painting and lectures and other things, like Linda would have come in and maybe even given a lecture in person here. And we had other
Mhm.
people that give lectures on various topics. And some have actually done, we had a challah baking class in person where the person brought, all the materials and, they worked on it together. It was so much fun. And that's the educational part. And then at the other end of the L, the Washington University doctors have a geriatric center, and there's also a therapeutic, like a therapy, RPI, which they do, physical
Physical
therapy for,
therapy.
yeah, for people
Don't
who,
forget your Tai Chi class.
oh, that's right. And so we have exercise classes too, Tai Chi, yoga, some strengths and stretch. So the whole concept is like people could come in, have lunch, take a class, visit their doctor, and then go home. It's like a one-stop shop almost.
It's wonderful.
Wow, that's
with
amazing.
a lot of opportunity to meet other people, other seniors, and rather than not only the people in this building, it's open for the community. So people, often get, kind of isolated in their homes
Mhm.
when they can't, if they don't have a Tai Chi class to go to or a painting class to go to. And here they can come and do those things, anybody, and, have lunch with the friend. And then we had Mahjong
Mhm.
classes as well, not classes, but gaming day. It's just a place for seniors to meet, have fun, go to the
Yeah.
doctor, and have lunch all in one place. So
So
that's what the Marowitz Center is in a,
is
nutshell.
there, when do you think AJ's might reopen? Is there talk about that?
There's
The
talk.
cafe?
There's talk. The people that ran it, I'm not sure if they'll come back. It was an outside company that was running, the food process. So I'm not sure, but I know they are talking, trying to interview different places that might be interested in doing the same thing.
Oh, so that same person wouldn't come back? Oh,
Yeah,
too bad.
I forgot the name of the company.
Yeah, I don't know, but it
yeah,
was good.
yeah. Well, they'll find somebody who's, has quality product.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is there any talk prior to opening the actual cafe? Is there any talk about opening the space so that groups could come back in and play Rummy Cube, Mahjong, etc.?
Yeah, we have been talking about that, and
Right.
we are taking baby steps in that direction. So there's, we were talking about doing, and the lady actually canceled, but because she was busy, but I had in the middle of May, I had a potting, house plant potting kind of a class that we were going to do live. We are certainly looking at different opportunities and what would make sense. So some of the Zoom programs, can stay on Zoom for now. And I think there'll be a hybrid, we'll still have
Mhm.
some Zoom
Yeah,
and some live programming. So
good.
so we're looking at that, and we're talking with Coca to come back for an in-person art program, painting class, and
Nice.
maybe in August. So we're trying to move forward with those kinds of things. So,
Great.
Carla and I belong to a Rummy Cube group, so let us
oh,
know when you open up and we can reserve our day.
okay, okay, all right, sounds good.
Great,
Carla,
great.
did you have something you wanted to say? She answered. Okay, okay. Well,
Wonderful.
thank you, Linda. Thank you again so very much for the program. And it is inspiring. And, now I want to go home and move some things around.
Good.
I
Good.
wanted to ask Reva real quickly. Reva, did the clicking on the link I sent you, did that work for you?
She's
May
muted.
not be there anymore.
She's muted.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
muted.
You
You might have to ask her.
Reva
Might
last
have to
night.
call
She
her.
said-
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't
Okay.
have the link and I sent it to her and well, she's here.
Yeah, yeah.
Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Linda.
everybody. And we'll see
Bye.
you. Bye.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.